Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming to my channel on YouTube, DearSelinaLove. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, you can follow me on my social media sites. I'm mostly active on Instagram and Snapchat, but I also have a Twitter page where you would automatically be notified each time I upload a video. And I also have a Facebook page, and all of those social media sites I am at DearSelinaLove, and for Snapchat I am DearSelinaLove, no @ symbol in the beginning. So yes, let's get right into it. So today I want to speak on what it was like growing up in a Jamaican household. So I was born here, but a majority of my family are from Jamaica. So both of my parents, they're from Jamaica. I grew up with my mom, and I was talking to a friend today about this because he dealt with a similar, he had a similar experience as well. And it was just funny because I remember when I was in 3rd grade, we were reading, I think I was 8, yeah. We were reading a book, and I think the name of the book was Rigsby or something. It was some dog, but it wasn't Clifford. I remember it was not Clifford the Big Red Dog. It was some book called Rigsby. And I remember it was my turn to read, and I said, Rigsby was comfortable. And everybody started laughing. I'm just like, okay, what's so funny? And it's like, haha, you said comfortable. I'm just like, that's what it says. Rigsby was comfortable. And then I was like, no, it's comfortable. So from that point, I guess I was made aware that I said things differently than other people, and I didn't realize it until that moment. And so from that point on, I told myself, okay, I want to sound like everyone else. I'm going to try and eliminate my accent. And I remember as I got a little bit older, I used to get mad when people would be like, oh, you have an accent or this, because I equated it to being something negative. And then it also didn't help that for like 5 years, I was pretty much around an individual who had all these negative things to say about Jamaicans. Like, they would pretty much say like, oh, Jamaicans, they're ignorant, they're stupid, they're this, they're that. And so as a young child, I was just like, wow, I don't want to be associated with this. But I did still like a lot of the culture, like, for example, Carnival or the food and all that stuff. But as a young child, I was pretty much trying to disassociate myself from it because of what I was told about it, and then especially from the experience in 3rd grade. Now, as I got older, I got to get a better idea of my culture and really know my identity for what it was. Now, what I will say is there was always that struggle with me not being American enough or me not being Jamaican enough. So like the American people, they'll be like, oh, you're Jamaican. And then the Jamaican people would be like, y'all want to look a Yankee, which pretty much means like, you're a Yankee. Now, for that reason, I just really didn't know what to identify as, and I always felt that no one really understood unless they grew up in that same, grew up with that background. And it was just interesting, but as I got older, I got a better idea of my identity, and I started identifying as Jamaican American. But I also identified as African American because I figured, well, I was born here and my ancestors were ultimately from Africa. So I identified as both of those. And I just say this because I found that once I really knew what my identity was, a lot of my insecurities left, and I was able to better understand myself and appreciate my culture for what it was. Like, have you guys experienced this as well? Like, is your family from another country? Like, what was it like growing up for you all? Did you experience the same thing? And I know also, like, for me, once I got to college, I even embraced it even more, or just my culture in general, because I later decided I want to go natural, which that also helped with me because I realized that I had a lot of insecurities about my natural hair, because people would be like, oh, your hair is nappy, you're this or that, or growing up having someone tell you that you have nappy hair or whatever. As I got older, I finally went natural. I learned to appreciate my natural hair. I remember I would watch all these YouTube videos. I remember the first person that I would watch, and I was just in awe by how long her hair was Rustic Beauty. And I was just like, wow, she has waist length hair and her hair texture is just like mine. So I was just so excited. I was just like, wow, I really want to get rid of my relaxer. And I just found that once I did that, I started being more conscious of like the food that I ate and wanted to know more about my Black culture. And also, what else? I became more aware of where the insecurities I had came from. And I think it's really important that you learn earlier on what your identity is, because the last thing you want is for someone to tell you who you are. And half the times these people who try to tell you who you are, they don't even know who they are themselves. So it's just really important that you know who you are. And one of the things that also helped me was my faith in Jesus Christ. And now, yes, I grew up in a Christian household, but I didn't really have a personal relationship until I was probably like around a preteen or so, where I really wanted a personal relationship with Christ. Because before that, it was just like, okay, I go to church on Sunday because that's what I'm supposed to do on Sunday. Now where I'm at in my life, it's like, oh my gosh, I look forward to that. So I found that once I built my relationship with Christ, I started realizing that I don't need validation from other people or anything or anyone in order to tell me who I am, because ultimately I know who I am. But yes, as I mentioned before, growing up with a Caribbean background, it was really cool, and I didn't realize how unique it was to have that, because I was able to learn about a completely different, I was able to have a culture that most people around me at the time didn't really have. And then also I got to experience different things, and I feel like I'm more open to other cultures and learning about other cultures because of my background, and I'm more sympathetic and more understanding, and I'm at a better place where I could relate to other people who have been through the same things. Like when I worked in the high schools, like I know like a lot of times I would get parents who were of Caribbean descent, and some of them were Jamaican, Belizean, or sometimes they wouldn't even have a Caribbean background, they'll just have an accent in general. Like sometimes I would have a counselor who would be like, okay, I don't really understand what this parent is saying, can you speak to them? And then I would be able to understand it. And I know a lot of people will be like, wait, Jamaicans, y'all speak a different language. I was like, to me it sounds just like English, but I guess because I want to tell you all this story because I feel like it was a part of my identity, and as I learned to appreciate my identity, I got to a better place where I was able to really appreciate the difference that I had. Because a lot of times, I mean, when you're growing up and you're in high school or middle school, like, yes, people could be really mean. And once you have a certain flaw at this point, now, especially if you're shy, you don't want people to highlight those things because you don't want to stand out. You want to be in the background. But I feel like all of us, we have a different purpose, and sometimes it means that our differences is what's going to have you brought to the forefront, and sometimes it's just so you could help other people. So yes, I'm kind of rambling now, but yes, I thought it was really cool, and I feel like because of that experience I had when I was younger, I no longer, that's why I kind of struggle with speaking patois, which is what Jamaicans speak. I feel like that's the reason why I have a hard time speaking it out, because when I did have the accent, it just came to me naturally. It was just, I didn't appreciate it. So I'm only saying this because if there is anyone that's watching, you may have a Caribbean background or any background of anything, appreciate it, enjoy it, be happy, and because one day you may want it, you won't have it anymore. But yes, I just wanted to speak on that topic, and I look forward to seeing y'all in my next video. If you haven't already done so, make your dreams a reality. Bye.